evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on A World Awakening. And thank you for Jeff Turner getting in class dismissed at the last second on Soul School before we hopped off. I knew one of these days I was going to forget it, and he remembered. So excellent job, Jeff. It's been the last couple of weeks have been a whirlwind. There's been an awful lot going on. And every now and then I need to get together with one of my friends, one of my near dear friends that work in the paranormal, who come on this show and bring light into the darkness. And that gentleman this evening is Mr. Dale Quigley. I'm sure many of you know him, and we've been together at numerous events. So it was time to bring him on to A World Awakening. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dale Quigley, my dear heart.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It is such a pleasure to be here with you on your show, talking with you as we have so many times. I enjoy every time we get to spend together because it doesn't matter what either one of us are going through. It just always seems like together the world melts away. So yeah, no, I'm truly honored and blessed to be here with you. So thank you.
Well, it's really my pleasure. And you know, I look back, I've been doing this show now for a couple of years, I guess, and I thought, how have I not had Dale on the show yet? You know, I mean, how did that, but I also know that everything happens in its right and proper time with purpose
Absolutely.
and reason. Everything does.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you've been doing some really tremendous work in the field, and your reputation precedes you. Everybody that I know who knows you loves you. And there's just no higher compliment that you can pay to another human being. You're one of the good guys, one of the nice guys. And your genuine affection just radiates from you. And when we're together at events, and we grab a hold of each other, it would take machinery to pull us apart. Like
Uh,
backhoes or something with claws, something. Because
uh,
light attracts light.
uh,
It just does. And my last show with Jeff Turner on Soul School, we were talking about the darkness but praising the light and how to lift people into the light. But you come by your wisdom, not just through age, but through experience. And so what I would like for you to do tonight is to introduce yourself to my worldwide viewers, some who have never met you before. Tell them what you do, where you are, who you are, why you do what you do, and just run with that. And then I'll just, probably rudely interrupt you with a question here and there. But right now I'm going
uh,
to drink coffee while you talk. Coffee talk.
oh, no, I truly appreciate you. And, like I said, yeah, when we are together at events, I mean, we were separated for 3 years, and that was difficult on me because uh, I really truly missed my paranormal family, and
Yeah.
it was a struggle being stuck on in Canada, not being able to cross the border. I mean, I'm 52 years old. I never thought I'd live to see the day where they told me I'm not allowed to cross a border. I mean, I was willing to swim across the Detroit River to get to you guys. So thank God it didn't come to that because I might have had more limbs than I really compared to coming out of that river. But no, no, thank you so much for this opportunity. Me, myself, I came into the paranormal as a very young age when I had my very first experience that I can recall.
Yeah.
Now, over the last few years, I've been really diving deep into who is Dale Quigley? What makes Dale Quigley tick? Why is Dale here and what is his mission? And it all came to me when I was just at a young age. I had a family member who passed away. You'll have to excuse me because sometimes drumming up these memories, they're still fresh and they're very powerful to me because this is who made me who I am. But so they came to me in the middle of the night just before their funeral. I remember waking up. They were standing in my doorway. I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "I'm here to say goodbye." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Well, they have to go." And I said, "Go where?" And they said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, are you ever coming back?" And they told me that they don't know, but they just had to go at that very moment. And at that time, they turned around and they started to walk down this little hallway that I was living in the apartment with my mother. And I got out of bed and I ran towards the door. And by the time I got to my door frame, they were gone. And I sat there, but I stepped into a puddle of water. Now, the significance of the water was that this relative drowned. And that was them showing me the sign that whatever is on the other side, that they can show us that they can come over here at any time. And that was the beginning of my journey into the paranormal world. I've had multiple experiences and all loving experiences. I mean, I've never really truly had a bad experience in the paranormal world uh, with close people dying. And then I guess the one that really transformed my abilities to understand the paranormal is when my biological father passed away in 2005. Uh, he was not only my father, but he was my best friend. So losing him was very hard for me. Uh, I'm sorry, I just.
It's okay, sweetheart. You're in safe space.
um, so when he passed over, it was one of the hardest things I had to deal with, and but the moment he crossed over, he came right to me, and I remember it was about 3 days after. No, I'm sorry, it was about 5 days after his funeral. Uh, at that time, I was working as a concert promoter. I was working on a concert, and I just sat behind my desk and I just broke down crying, and I just couldn't stop. And all of a sudden, I could feel his arms around me, and I could smell him and feel him, and it's just felt just like anybody else. When they give you a hug, everybody's hug is a signature. Nobody hugs the same. Everybody has that really unique hug, like a fingerprint. And I felt him, and like instantly, the tears stopped, and I knew he was okay,
Yeah. And with you.
and with me, and he's still with me to this day.
Mhm.
It's funny when I get around some of my medium friends and psychic friends and stuff. They're always like, "Do you know you have a gentleman who is like right behind you?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's my
I
dad." And
believe I've
they're
said
like,
that to you, as a matter of fact. And I don't even
they
count myself as, a psychic, but I can feel the energy.
Yeah. And I said, "That's my dad." And they're like, "Are you sure?" And I'll pull up a picture of my dad on my phone. And I'm like, "Does he look like this?" They're like, "Yep." And I'm like, "That's my dad." I said, that was one thing he said. That was his biggest fear, was when he was dying, that what was going to happen to me. And I had to tell him that I would be okay. Here I am. I'm okay. And so it's been quite the journey with the experiences and being part of the paranormal field. It's such a loving community that No matter where I am and what I do at any of these events, it feels home. It's home, and I feel where I can finally be myself. I don't have to pretend to be normal.
No,
I can
because
be
you
my
can't be. You're
paranormal.
paranormal.
So, but um, so yeah, that was, and I suffer from a lot of depression and anxiety, so that is a battle in itself. There's a lot of dark moments in my life, and I will always be grateful to the one and only Exie Smith,
Yeah.
Suzanne Smith, who really was there for me when I was at my darkest. Uh, Now let's try and get through this story without breaking down to be
I can't talk about her without crying either. So please, feel free.
uh,
I mean, she's
uh
a good friend and an incredibly gifted woman.
absolutely. One of the, oh, I mean, yeah, she is truly a very kind soul, and it was energy that brought us together, just like you and I. It was the energy that brought us together. And I remember the one year I was going up to the MI Paracon, and I was struggling with a lot of depression, and uh, to a point where every day was my last day on Earth. I was bound and determined to get off this Earth, and I headed up to the MI Paracon. But I was talking with Xe, and she goes, "I would love to have lunch with you." Before you head up to Michigan, because it was the one year that she didn't go.
Mhm.
So I said, absolutely, I would love to have lunch with you. So I did. I drove up to close to where she lives, and we had lunch together. Got there a little early, and I sat in her car, and the first words out of her mouth is, "How you doing?" I said, of course, me, being me. I'm fine, because I always felt like I was a burden on people. I didn't want to burden people with my problems. I always said I was fine. And she stopped, she looked at me, she goes, "No, how you doing?" I said, Actually, I'm fine." She goes, "Dale, you know I know." And
Mhm. And she does.
right there, I let it out, and she goes, "I know your dad's been talking to me." She
Ah.
goes, "He hasn't left me alone." I was like,
Well,
"Oh."
somebody had to step in,
Uh,
somebody had to
and
step in.
so yeah, and we had a really good talk, and that brought me out of my tailspin, and I was able to focus on being who I am and being what I truly set out to be. And that's just be a beacon of hope to everybody out there, that life is only as good as you want to live it. And, people all have their down days, and I want to be the one person that when I walk in the room, that they'll now have the best day of their life.
That's a blessed and beautiful way to. And I will tell you, and people who watch this show all the time know me. If they didn't before, they do now. Um, and I am a deeply emotional creature. I always have been. I cry every single day over something or another, sometimes numerous times a day. I have suffered with depression and anxiety at different times throughout my life. And I think that people who are sensitives, or some call us empaths,
Right,
that's just a natural part of who we are. We
right,
feel very deeply. Um, I'm telling you how many times I have been right at the precipice, right there. Like, I don't belong on this fucked up planet. I don't belong here. I want out of here. I never want to come back. And it's not, I don't blame the planet. The
Right.
planet is beautiful, what's left
Oh,
of it that we haven't decimated. Um,
right.
but the pain, the pain of life, of living, of seeing any kind of pain endured by others or by animals, or by the living creatures that are subjected to horrors. I can't even look at what's going on in Gaza. Ukraine threw me over the edge. I'm still trying to claw my way back out of that crevasse. uh, I'm so angry, and I'm so hurt, and so I don't feel like I belong here. But it's because I don't feel like I belong here that I do belong here. And I think that the same is true of you. I think that the reason that we gravitated together the way that we did is because we are like souls.
Right.
We're enmeshed with each other. We have the same characteristics and the same motivations, the best of intentions, and always trying to be the light. But in order to be, let me just listen to this, Dale. In order to be the beacon of light that cuts through the darkness, there has to be darkness. We live in 3D. We live in a world of duality, and there's a constant conflict going on between good and evil, love and fear, which is the manifestation. Hatred is the manifestation of fear. So fear is the opposite of love.
Right.
Love is an action word. It is our superpower. Staying focused on that when there's so much to be angry about, staying focused on that when there's so much to be hurt by, the grief, the pain that we suffer because we feel so deeply is part of our superpower. I years and years ago, I was in my 20s, and I went through this period of I felt completely unfulfilled. I felt like what I was doing for a living, yes, it, brought me home a paycheck, but I was not, I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And I went to my doctor and I said, I'm so depressed. I can't even come up with an escape plan to get off this planet. Um, and my doctor was, of course, extremely alarmed.
Yeah.
Um, and I started seeking some help. And the thing is that within like 3 or 4 sessions, sitting with someone who didn't know me, who couldn't feel me, who I was just next in line, uh, told me one thing: I can heal myself. I can do this myself, and I can lift myself up. And the way that I did it was by doing volunteer work, doing anything that I could to help someone else. And that healed me. And I never went that deep or dark again. So I hope that you're listening to me, because I want you to know I'm always at the other end of your telephone speed dial right here. Okay. And I never want you to get to a place where you have to look up to see bottom without calling me. You promised me that.
Oh, absolutely, Andrea. I mean, I mean, the support system I have around me with you, Deb and RJ,
Oh
the
God, Kevin
X's,
RJ. Oh,
I, I don't have to win the lottery because I'm the richest man in the world because I have so much
yep,
love
richest
and
woman right
and
here.
it's it's it it's it's mind blowing, but yet it's like, yeah, there's nothing I know I can't overcome at this point in my life because to me, I've got so much more to live for. I have a whole world that truly needs a Dale in it. And it's, I don't think I'm unique and I don't think I'm one of a kind, but you know what? There's definitely my passion, my love, what I have for people is, you know what? The world is definitely an ugly place right now. It is the ugliest I've ever seen life.
Yeah.
But, with people like you and I and the Devin RJs, the X's of the world, the Michael Johns of the world,
Yeah.
it makes this life being able to get through it and know that I am definitely not alone and that this puzzle needs to stay together because I'm not going to let the ugliness take over this world. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I have a breath in my body.
Yep, not on my watch. No, absolutely not. And that's the thing that I most appreciate about our paranormal community. It really is because to say that, I mean, 12 years ago, nobody knew who I was. The movie hadn't come out yet. I had just started publishing my trilogy of books, and nobody knew who I was. And yet, as the word started getting around and, oh, hey, they're making a movie of the story, let's read it. The book's always better, that type of thing. And then I
And it,
started getting invited to, these wondrous events and getting to meet all these people. And me, I spend time with everyone that comes to my table, everyone.
absolutely,
And
absolutely, you that is the beautiful soul that you are because people just gravitate towards you and spending 5 minutes with you, you listen to everybody, and that is why I call you the paranormal sweetheart because you do. I mean, you could be your world is crumbling, your world's falling apart, but on the outside, nobody would ever know that because you are somebody who stands there and just puts a smile on your face and makes everybody else smile at the same time. So God bless you and everything that you do. And I'm glad that we have made a connection. And I'm so glad the world gets to know who Andrea Perrin is because I'll tell you, you are definitely a sweetheart of a woman. And don't ever let the darkness change you either. And I'm always a phone call away, and if I have to, I'll jump in my truck and I'll drive down to Georgia and I will hug you on your front door.
I know you would. That was the hardest thing about the pandemic was us being separated, and once we were finally able to come back together as our paranormal family and our paranormal love fest, where you walk into
Yeah.
like this wall of love. It's amazing. When I walk into Kewadin, I'm like, wow, everybody
Yeah.
that works there remembers me and my name, and they've got my room already and everything's all set. And I'm like, oh no, let them go first. They were in line first. I mean,
Right.
I try to never want to, push my formidable weight around.
Yeah.
But I'm treated with such respect and honor, and that makes me even more humble because I know that we were separated through no fault of our own,
Dude.
and we will never, ever take each other for granted again. Not ever. I mean, my first event back, ooh, I think it was in May of 2021. And everybody was all masked up and everybody was, just doing their best to get through. And I went to an event in Gettysburg,
Oh,
which I love Gettysburg. It's just such it's extraordinary place. It really is the juxtaposition of the darkness and the light. Um, and you know, I the first time I ever went to the battlefield, I dreaded it. Dale, I really did. I thought, oh
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna feel all of it. I'm gonna feel all. Oh God, I don't want to feel this kind of pain and loss
Yeah.
and grief, and I just don't. And I felt nothing but peace when I got
Yeah.
there. And I realized later that the reason that I felt such peace was because the vast majority of the men that went into that battle knew they were going to die.
Yeah.
So it, you know, they had accepted their fate going in.
Right. Right.
But it, you know, it also speaks to the brutality. I mean, the just the, you know, the incredible pain that human beings are capable of inflicting on each other. And
Oh.
so I, you know, going back and seeing everyone, we didn't even know, like, is it okay to hug each other? Is it okay? Should we hold our breath? You know, I mean, remember the first one you went
Oh,
back to, and it's like, what do I need to be? Well, when I went to the UFO con in Houghton Lake, Michigan later that year,
yeah.
which you know very
Yeah.
well, Deb and
Oh,
RJ, and it was so funny because that day that we all left, I kept hearing the same phrase over and over again from everyone, and I adopted it as one of my own as we're saying goodbye to each other. And it was 4 words: drive safe, don't die. Drive safe had to do with getting in the car on the road with crazy maniacs. Don't die had to do with COVID.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And and we still really, in a lot of ways, we're still there. You know,
Right.
I mean, COVID's not going away. Just because it's not headline on the news anymore doesn't mean
Right.
hundreds of people a week aren't dying from this
Yeah.
horrible virus. Um, but we've learned to live with it. Um, and that's hard because this is part of the paradigm shift, my darling. All of this is
Yeah.
part of that. But when we get together at our events and we can talk to each other about our experiences, and you know, when I look in your eyes and you're telling me something that has happened to you, I, with great ease, say, yes, of course, I believe you. You know, why would I not believe you?
Right.
You know, and that's one of the most powerful things that we can say to each other when we're exchanging ideas and nobody's judging one another because they've had
Yeah.
weird experiences too, and we can be very open and honest with one another. And yet there's always that little thing in the back. It's like, this is a really bizarre story. I wonder if.
Right.
And when you say, I believe you,
Right.
it's imbuing that friendship, that relationship that we have with its inherent trust.
Right.
You know, not trust but verify,
Correct.
just trust.
Yeah. No.
That
And
is built on the foundation of love.
yeah. And I mean, with our show, The Paranormal Voice, that's exactly what we're here. Like, we're here to give a voice to everybody who has a story, who's had an experience. It may be cryptid, maybe be UFO, maybe just be, metaphysical. It's we want everybody to have a voice in the paranormal because you have that right to tell your story and not be judged and be thought of as a weirdo or a freak because you feel things, you see things, and not everybody has. Well, I believe everybody has a gift, but it's how they choose to use it is how things get perceived. I mean, the different religions and whatnot always plays a part in it, but we as a show love giving everybody the opportunity. It doesn't matter if you're a big para celebrity and been on a million shows, or the common guy who is out there every weekend going through these abandoned buildings and trying to get answers themselves. We want everybody to have the voice to share and to know that it's not about proving to us. It's not. We this is your story. Yes, great. That's amazing. You had an experience.
Yeah. And it's very, I think it's very healing, but it's also very enlightening for others. I think that the great value about your show, and I've done your show a number of times, the great value of it is, that level of acceptance and, willingness to learn more, because I believe that we can learn from other people's experiences as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have it. If you've got an incredible story that's coming from a credible source, that's enough. That's
Right.
enough to enlighten you, to bring you to a higher level of consciousness, and to open your mind all that much more to what is out there. I think that we're relegated to this planet and to this realm, to this dimension, as it were. Uh, but that's not the end all be all of our existence. I think that and as we've talked about on your show, we live in a multidimensional universe. We're just stuck on a three-dimensional planet, but we live in a multidimensional universe. And I
Yeah.
think thinking big is something that you are particularly good at. You ask very pertinent questions. You do your homework. You do your research. You make sure that you know what you're talking about. And I find that admirable, because there's an awful lot of podcasts out there where I've done them. I say yes, if I can, I say yes, because
Yeah.
I might be talking to somebody that's never heard of our story before.
Right.
Never knew that there was a story behind the story. Or, maybe I'm going to say one thing during that interview that sticks with them and makes them think differently, to see their old reality with new eyes. Um,
Right.
and you do exactly the same thing on your show. So, yeah, I heard that little exchange that you had with my producer, and I say yes, thumbs up to that. That would be marvelous. Uh,
Uh, yeah, no, you know what? We're always out there. We're looking to grow. Like Michael John and myself, two childhood friends with a passion for the paranormal. I mean, we honestly complement each other. We bring the best out of each other,
mhm.
and I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do for Michael John. He has been my savior more than he realizes, and I mean, I know he tells me the same thing, but without him, I don't think there would be a paranormal voice, because I could never dream of doing this alongside of anybody else.
Yeah,
Uh, because it's all about the chemistry, and I mean, even with the guests that we have, the chemistry that we create, we grow and we bond. It is absolutely amazing. So yeah, no, like I said, we are both truly grateful that we have the support and the love of you yourself. And I mean, you were really the one who put us on the map. You were our very first guest.
I remember.
You were our launching, and we hit the grand slam. We said, if we're gonna do this, let's go big or go home. And it's like, who's the biggest guest we could think of? And there was Andrea Perron saying yes, and you made it happen. And here we are, uh, more than a year and a half later, and we are growing stronger every year by the moment, by the shows. And we were truly grateful for the love and support that you guys give us, and show us that our passion is making a difference in the world.
It is. And Emerson, I'm just paraphrasing, but Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is one of my idols and one of the greatest writers and thinkers of all time, one of the true metaphysicians. Um, he said, if you change one life, then you've lived a successful life. If you can help one other person, or particularly a child, then you've lived successfully. It's not about a bank account. It's not about how much you have accrued or acquired in your life in terms of stuff. It's the difference that you make in other people's lives.
Right.
That's everything. Everything.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more. It's, people are so stuck on materialistic things and, or who has the bigger car or the bigger house, who has the faster car, or who has more zeros on their bank accounts. I truly don't need any of that, because it's the love that I want. It's you can't put a price on love, and you can't put a price on passion and respect, because without any of that, you're a flag in the wind that's just blowing aimlessly, and that's why people like you and the Deb and RJs and the Tim Shaws, like I said, it's you.
Oh,
You guys are
Brad.
all. Oh, wait! I opened up another rabbit hole.
I love that man. Oh my God. I so love
uh,
that man. He's
oh,
extra.
we were just on Tim's show on Wednesday, and I tell you, it was an absolute blast. I mean, just like at events, to hang out with you, but to hang out with Tim Shaw at the same time. It is a real treat and an honor to just sit there and listen to him talk and just do what Tim does. I mean, Tim doesn't really have to do anything. He just moves, and people are just like, "All right, this is wonderful."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
He's
eh,
his Black Cat Cafe. I'll tell you what. He is a joy. He is a wonder to behold. And that's the thing. These are the people that we gravitate to. These are the
all right,
people that gravitate to us.
yeah,
And I wouldn't know any of you, had I not dug deep enough to find the courage to tell our true story, and particularly before the film was released,
right,
so that it was already out there. There was a place for people to go look for the real truth behind The Conjuring.
right,
And then to have people like you and Tim and Tim and Brad at the UP,
oh,
the Upers, Steve,
yes,
to start bringing me to this event, bringing me to that event, uh, and giving me the freedom to talk openly in our peer group about this. And I often open my lectures with, the happiest people I know are obsessed with death, but it's not death. It's that search for our own meaning in terms of the existence of an afterlife. Do we go on? Yes, we do. Because
all
if
right,
we didn't, spirit would not exist, and spirit exists.
and,
So, yes, we do. In some way, shape, or form, we all go on. Some of
mm,
us remain behind because we either have loved ones we're not willing to part with yet who need us, or because our mission felt unfulfilled. We left unfinished business. Some of us die so suddenly or tragically, we might not know we're dead for a while. There are a lot of factors that I think, energetically, I think there are a lot of factors that have to do with the existence of spirit. But for us to know that, the only thing that you said that I would take exception to And Tenny will back me up on this. John Tenny will back me up on this. Is that the highest compliment any of us can be paid is to be called a weirdo.
Absolutely.
And the reason is because the etymology of that word goes back to the Middle Ages, 14 or 1500s when it first appeared, WYRD, and it was a word that was used for those that lived outside the walls of the kingdom, for those that grew their own food and raised their own cattle and took care of themselves, did not live under the thumb of the hierarchy, who, as John says when he describes this, he says, those who are brave enough to manifest their own destiny. And so when anybody ever calls you a weirdo, all you have to say is, thank you very much. Thank you very much. How
I wear that title with a
yeah.
proudness. You know, I could not be anything more than a weirdo, and that's like I love John Tenney, another great man, another guy who, yeah, you gravitate to him, and my God, he is one speaker I could sit there and listen to all day long because he, the way he talks and the way he makes you truly think about. I mean, to this day, I walk down the street and I wonder if half the people I pass by are real
Yeah.
because of John Tenney, because he's got me thoroughly convinced that the people out there, they're not all what they seem, but, and also, too, as I'm learning more and more that there are galactic people out there walking among us who look just like you and I because they don't want the world to see them yet, but they're there, and
Mhm.
I feel comfortable with that. I look forward, and I think that's why I give love to everybody I come across because I don't know who you are, what your background is, but you know what? It costs nothing to be kind to one another.
Right.
And Dustin Perry is the one man that instilled that into a lot of us. Just be kind to one another because that's all we got. We got each other to love, and I could not be more proud to be a weirdo than with the group of people that I associate myself with. So it's going to be a ship full of weirdos, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm coming, I believe I'm coming to Detroit uh in January. And as soon as I have the dates, I will let you know so that you can cross that bridge.
I will, even if the river is iced over, I will slap on a pair of ice skates and skate across. That's about. I don't think there's anything that's going to be keeping us apart. I always look like the MI Paracon and the UFO Contact Convention is always two places where I'll always know that I will find Andrea in the house doing her thing, and the love fest begins. So if I can get my love in January, Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah. And Happy New Year. Yeah.
Happy New Year. No, but yeah, no, like I said, I'm truly blessed and to be on this earth with such amazing people. Uh, I I don't know if you actually know the story, but I did die in 2006. I died on a table. I was having the most common of surgeries, and even the surgeon himself said, "I've done over 3,000 of these, and you were the first one to almost die on me." But to be to see what I saw is life changing, and it is so beautiful. The other side is it took a lot for me to come back. It took my stepfather, who was there with me, to tell me I can't stay over there, and that he says you have a lot to accomplish. And I said, and I after I came out of it and was brought out of my coma, uh, my life changed, and I'll tell you, it's death is nothing to be afraid of,
No.
and I will never. You hear people say, I'm afraid to die. There's nothing to be afraid of because it is absolutely beautiful. And what is waiting for us on the other side, people are going to be absolutely astonished,
Yeah.
is probably the best word. And uh, to to know that the love on the other side is absolutely amazing. But uh, I'm glad I'm still here with everybody. I mean,
Well,
if I wasn't, I wouldn't have been able to meet you and Tim, and like I said, so many blessings that I call, and I feel truly honored that I call you guys not friends. I call you guys my family, and it's we are all here for each other, and I'm just glad that people want to hear my story, and I think if one person could walk away from me telling my story and realize that you can conquer anything, then that made my day.
yeah.
And one smile at a time.
Well, I think that one of the greatest gifts that any human being can experience is a near death experience.
Yeah,
I really do. And, there are multitudes of people that have died and come back or were right there, like right on the precipice and then, yanked back. My sister Cindy and my mother are two of them. Um, and my friend Cody, of Cody and Satori, is another one. And I think that when you cross and you see what's there,
right,
uh, it alters your entire perspective, your entire frame of reference, and you're able to come back into this world and comfort people who are afraid to die. I think it is probably the one fear that supersedes all other fear, is that niggling feeling in the wee hours of the night when you question your mission here, your reason for being, and start grappling with your own mortality, which is why I think that the pandemic shook all of humanity to its core, because it completely leveled the playing field. Completely. There wasn't a single human being on this planet that had any natural immunity to this novel virus.
right,
And so suddenly we were all plunged into that same mindset: is, oh my God, I could die from this. What if I die? What
right,
if I die and my family, and I'm so young, and I mean people who are much younger than me are dying from this, and this kind of anxiety and panic overcame us societally. And it's people like you that have crossed and come back that can quell a lot of that anxiety, and bring people to a more peaceful mindset about death not being the end but the beginning of the next chapter. um, I think that that's one of the most important things that you can do. My friend, Lenny and Jeff, who are always at my table whenever we're together.
well,
um,
I love Lynn. She is such a sweetheart of a woman. I'm so glad that over time I've been able to talk to her and get to know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, such beautiful people in themselves. And like I said, you attract the most beautiful people in the world.
Salt of the earth. But you need to talk to Jeff because the same thing happened to him that happened to you. And I
Oh,
would love to get the two of you on to compare notes, one of these nights. And he's been on the show talking about his near death experiences.
right.
And he's had two. Um, but I would love to have you back on to focus right on that subject because I think that it's very important. There was a time not that long ago when we didn't have the medical technology to save someone who died on the table. We
Right.
didn't.
Right.
This is a new phenomenon and it's worthy of us really delving into. I don't know where an hour went, but Bill is telling us that we have 3 minutes left. And I want you to be in touch with Bill, and Bill will be in touch with you. And
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
I I can't tell you what it means to me. I'm going through some difficult times myself right now, and to have this hour with you tonight, Dale, has lifted me up out of some tremendous sadness, and I feel so much better just getting to see that beautiful face. And in a matter of just weeks, I will hold you in my arms again and love all over you and pinch those precious cheeks and kiss you and smother you in kisses.
Uh,
Uh,
no, you know what? I truly honored that I was able to come onto your show and talk. And yes, I truly love talking about my near death experience because I think that's something that a lot of people should understand. And I mean, there's more to the story, and I would love to touch more on it. But no, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to you to have me on your show to talk about who I am and where I've come from. And, for anybody who's listening, please join us, the Paranormal Voice. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. And we're only growing. We don't know where 2024 is going to bring us, but you can always stay tuned. Usually, wherever Andrea is, you'll find the Paranormal Voice not far behind. That's for sure. Because, we have to have our Andrea in there. But no, I just want to say thank you for this time with you. And yes, in the same, just this hour with you, has brought me more energy and more. It showed me that,
peace.
I might have had a bad day, but
Mhm.
it's all better.
Well, it's certainly ending on a high note. And with that, I want to thank you, Dale, and Bill, of course, KGRA, all of our listeners worldwide, our viewers worldwide. I love you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. Be uplifted, dare to believe it's all good, and always, always be the light you seek.